Hi, Steve.
Hi. Sorry, who's that, please? Is that Dixon?
This is Dixon.
Hi, you've come up as
Yes.
the agripreneur. That's a bit strange. Hang on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hang
I,
on.
I used I used the link that you gave me.
Yeah, sorry, I can change your name.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, that's good. Good morning, everybody. Sorry for the slight confusion there about people's names. This is the ninth webinar in our series of the Entrepreneurship and Agribusiness course supporting the Go-Getters Agripreneur Prize for 2020. And today is going to be a really, really exciting webinar, I hope. We are going to be talking about the art of the pitch. And this is the first part of how we're bringing the course all together. Over the last 9 weeks, you've been looking at your unique value proposition. You've been exploring the potentials of market, your channeling, your competitors, your finances. And now we're going to be looking at how you share that information with your stakeholders, whether that's your customers, whether that's your investors, or even whether that's the people within your distribution channels or your value chains. We've got a full program, which is absolutely great. And what we're going to be doing today is going through the module as always. And also we have got some fantastic people who are going to be making some presentations. One thing I would like to just say before I go any further with today's webinar is that we have got to a point in the course where I know that people are really excited about finishing the course and going on to the next steps. The first thing that we are hoping people will be doing is finishing the online element of the course and looking at how you can actually then access your certificate of completion that will be emailed to you automatically from the platform. The second step, once that's done, is that you are then able to present your business plan to the Agripreneurship Alliance, and we will be passing that on to our team of expert reviewers who will then be giving you individualized feedback. There's a lot of questions we know that everybody has right now about how to do those steps. We know that this from people who've been emailing me and from following the WhatsApp group as well. The key message for today is do not panic, okay? Next week's session is about bringing this all together. So next week, we will be going through exactly what you need to do to ensure that you can finish the course online, get that important certificate, but also to look at how exactly you can submit your business plan to us for review and what our expectation is in terms of the documentation that you share. So that will be next week. In the meantime, though, please do ask any questions using the Q&A function during this webinar, and we'll try and answer them. And you are always welcome to contact me by email at stephen@theagripreneur.org, and I will try to make sure that we give you a quick and prompt answer to anything that you want to share. So, on to today. As I mentioned, we've got some fantastic speakers. We're going to be looking at the module content on the art of pitching, some of the tools that are present within that, the pitching canvas and the Trident fish farm presentation deck. There is always an activity that comes out of this module. So we'll be looking what that activity is. And then we have our friend Ludovine, who is going to be speaking to us about her experience of the Holt Prize. We may, if we have time, show a very short video blog from our friend Eunice Amenya, who's a smallholder coffee farmer in northern Uganda, who is now exporting her coffee to the EU. And as always, the last 15 minutes will be time for a bit of question and answer. The place that we're at today, second to last module, the penultimate webinar, The Art of the Pitch. As I mentioned, next week is looking at writing your plan, how you submit your business plan to the platform so that you can get that all important certificate, and how you can then present your business plan, your pitching deck, and your financial review document to us for review and feedback. And the all important date is Wednesday, September 30th, when the course will officially finish, and we'll then be providing you with that feedback during the month of October. I'm really, really delighted that the Agripreneurship Alliance has been able to support the Go-Getters Agripreneur Prize in 2020. The Go-Getters Prize is a fantastic opportunity for young entrepreneurs like yourselves across Africa to look and explore and raise the profile of your businesses, as well as have the opportunity to enter the finals and be one of the select group that can pitch for some amazing cash prizes, which can really take a business to the next level. And I'm really pleased that today we're actually going to be joined by some of the finalists from this year's Agripreneur Prize. But for me, it's really interesting that one of the key components of the Agripreneur Prize is pitching. And so I'd really like to welcome Dixon Naftali today, who's the head of Generation Africa, a leading figure within the Go-Getters Agripreneur Prize. And I would like to welcome Dixon to this morning's webinar. And I would like to invite him to say a few words about the Agripreneur Prize, to give us an idea where Go-Getters has got to this year, but also to tell us some of the reasons why he thinks and believes that pitching is so important. So hopefully, Dixon, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, thank you for joining us today.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Steve.
I'll hand over to you. So I've given you an introduction. I'm really delighted that you've been here. And at the Agripreneurship Alliance, we've really enjoyed working with you so far this year. And it's a partnership that we've really valued. And so your thoughts on the Go-Getters Prize, where you've got to this year, and also why you think pitching is such an important skill for any entrepreneur.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Steve. And hello to all the participants of this webinar. And a special welcome to our top 12 Go-Getters Agripreneur Prize finalists who are here today with us to listen to this webinar that is very, very important, that talks about the art of the pitch. And so I would like to say that so far, the Go-Getters Agripreneur Prize, we've come a long way. We had a lot of good applications this year from a lot of good entrepreneurs in all manners of business areas, all within the agri-food sector. And we were able to review this using very strict adjudication processes powered by a partner of ours called the VC4A. We got all these profiles online, and we dedicated a team of reviewers that did the reviews in a certain way. And basically what we were looking at mostly is the innovation, the market potential, the business model, the impact to social and environment around these businesses, and the kind of teams that they have, because we didn't want a one-man show. We wanted a team that can lead these ventures to their goals that they have put down. And so we went to the top 72. We went into further reviews and got our top 24, who we were calling the semi-finalists. And then we went into the finalists of the top 12, and they're here today. And so come next week on Tuesday, we'll be airing through the AGRF Summit the winners, and there'll be the last final pitches with judges, a panel of 9 judges who are going to be looking out for the best man and best woman who is going to take up the final prize. But just like you requested, Steve, I would want to go into a bit of importance of pitches, and I'll not dwell on how to create a good pitch, because I think in the call today we already have Steve from Agripreneurship Alliance. We're going to have Ludu from Morula Consultancy, and we're also going to have the Trident Fish Farm and the Unique Farm to share their experiences. So they're going to tell you a bit more about the fine-tuning to get that best pitch. But for me, I think I'll talk about the importance of this pitch. So these pitches are not just all about the judges that you'll be trying to lure to maybe get to win a prize competition, but the presentations that you make for such a prize competition are very important in terms of looking at a wide spectrum of stakeholders who, from what you say, might get interested in your business. And these stakeholders would include potential investors who might pump in some cash into your business to move you from a startup to a growing business, or from growth to a mature business. These stakeholders could be your potential future customers, people who are interested in your product. By listening to your product, they get interested immediately and they come and start giving you orders for your product. This could also be just another partner that might resolve a part of your business that is struggling at the moment. So maybe your outbound logistics is struggling, and there's a good expert who can do outbound logistics. And this I get from an example, having a chat with the last year's 2019, one of the winners from Ghana. He told us that right now he's getting a lot of orders, and he's no longer looking for cash for his business, but a partner who can help him in logistics to push the orders to the customers who are ordering. And so just from your pitch, you can get this kind of a partner. Then you need to look at this pitch as a way of improving your storytelling about your business and the communication skills about your business. You know, from webinars like this that we're doing to prepare you for pitches, you can pick an idea that will improve your business model. Judges who will be asking questions, they can trigger an idea to you that will help you to improve your business model. And so you're also able to articulate very well your business proposal just from a pitch that you give like this one. And it's about giving a short and compelling story of your business. So storytelling and communication skills are key to entrepreneurship. So let me end it at that and leave you to enjoy the rest of the course, and all the best to all participants. Thank you.
Dixon, thank you so much for your thoughts there. I think you've really hit on some of the very, very important issues within this. The idea that we're taking people through the process of pitching, and quite often people do think about pitching just in terms of competitions. And as you say, it's really an important skill for any entrepreneur, because you will pitch to a whole range of different audiences at different parts in your process of the development of your business. And it's really important to have a clear story that you can quickly articulate and share with investors or with customers or with value chain people or whatever, so that they can quickly buy in to what your business is about and understand what your goals are. So thank you for that. I wish you all the best fortune with the remainder of the Go-Getters Agripreneur Prize. I look forward to seeing, following the next few weeks as you head up towards the finals. And I'm sure that the finalist 12 people are putting in huge amounts of work at this moment in time, preparing for what is a really exciting and potentially life-changing opportunity. So thank you, Dixon.
Thanks, Stephen. All the best.
I know you can't just stay with us today, but thank you so much for your time. I do know that you're really busy as well.
Yes, I wish I would stay there all the way, but yes, we're together.
Yeah, we understand. Okay, so thanks, Dixon. I'll move on with the program for today. What we are trying to talk about is the module, The Art of the Pitch, and this is part of the putting it all together module that you'll find on the online platform. You are very used to by now the structure of the course when you enter a new module. And you can see here that we have got the usual structure and tools available in relation to this module. And as always, we have got the very important Trident Fish Farm case study that we give you as an exemplar for this through the course. So we ask you, as always, the first thing to do before you start the module is to watch the module video. The module videos are really, really clear about what the expectations of the course are and what steps you need to do to complete the activities of this part of the course. You will remember that if you need to, it's because we recognize that people can have problems with data access, that if you cannot stream this video, then you can always download the audio of it. And we hope that is useful to you. I've put this screen in. This is from the course dashboard. Everybody who's on the online platform will be able to see this. I just really wanted to reiterate how this looks. So the idea is you have on your course dashboard, you come to your course, you can see the course video, The Art of the Pitch. We have got the resources and tools which are available for download to support this module. And you can see those on the left-hand side of the screen, which with each of the tools available. And if you double click on those will come down to you. And within the course navigation section, again on the left-hand side, you will be able to review any part of the course that you've already participated in. So if you need to go back to the course introduction, you can go and click on course introduction and you'll be able to review the video from that course and the tools that are available from it. So it's a useful thing to be able to do at this moment in time when you're starting to build and bring everything together, is that you still have access to the previous course module videos and to the tools and resources that you will already have seen. Today, the key things that we're asking you to do in terms of the art of pitching. One is we present to you this thing that we call the pitching canvas, a presentation tool. This is a downloadable PDF file. So it's a small file that you download to your phone or to your computer. And then you answer the 10 questions on the pitching tool. And the answers that you come up with are things that you've already been exploring and developing through the previous parts of the course. And so we ask you, when you're thinking about pitching, there's 10 key things to think about. One is your title. One is, what problem or opportunity are you trying to fix? What's your business's value proposition? Remember, what's unique about it? What are you doing that nobody else is doing? We're asking you to think about the underlying magic of your business. Is it the fact that your customer care is going to be really awesome, that you're going to be really responsive, that you're doing business in a way that is good for the environment or has got social benefits? So what makes your business special? What is the underlying magic that makes your business step above the rest? What's your business model? How do you actually valueize the work that you're doing? How do you actually create a product that you can then sell, that you can then create value and bring revenue into your business, creating wealth for you and for those around you? What's your go-to-market plan? See, remember, this is all things that you've already considered previous to this part of the course. What's your go-to-market plan? How do you get your products or services to your customers? We talked previously about competitive analysis. Who are your key competitors within the market in which you operate? What are the challenges about either creating a new space for your product or gaining market share from people who are already working and selling products in the space that you want to operate within? Every business needs a good management team. And whether it's a solo run business or whether it's a business that's being run by a team of people, you need to clearly articulate what skills you have, who the people are, and how that business is going to be managed. We then also look at the finances and the key metrics. And this is really, really key, obviously. We've already shared and gone into detail about how you can do your financial revenue and cost projections so that you know what your business will cost to run over the course of a year. How much revenue are you potentially going to be bringing in? What investment do you need to enable your business to be a success in the first year of operation? What might your profit and loss be over the course of that first year? But also, what other key metrics do you bring into this as well? Do you consider the number of customers a key metric? Do you consider the number of units of product that you sell or the weight of product that you sell? You need to think about what is the key metric that most importantly captures what your business is trying to do. And the last slide within this is current status, accomplishments to date, timelines, and use of funds. So you need to tell people, okay, these are my aspirations. This is what I want my business to be doing. But the 10th slide is where you tell your business, your audience, what you have done. Have you actually got a product that is already for sale? Have you already attracted investment into your business? Have you already got the potential distribution channels established for your product or service? It's important to be able to share the action steps that you have planned, but also the action steps that you have enacted. And if you are looking for funds, if you are looking for investment, you need to be clear about exactly what that investment will be used for. Do you need investment to cover cash flow? We know in your revenue tool that quite often, going back to the TFF revenue and cost tool, that month 6, month 7, quite often has significant deficit because businesses in the first months of operation are generally spending more than they're making. So what money investment do you need to cover cash flow? Do you need investment to cover infrastructure? Do you need it to buy equipment or to enable you to pay for services that you need? Always be very clear about what investment that you need. And lastly, it's always useful to have a final slide, it's not included here, that just says, thank you for listening. So this pitching canvas tool is really important. And this is something that you can include in the business plan that you submit to the online platform. And it will inform your presentation deck that you will develop for submission to the Agripreneurship Alliance for review before the 30th of September. As well as the case study, the pitching canvas that we've just been looking at, we share with you on the online platform the Trident Fish Farm presentation deck. So this basically is to give you the idea of how you can take the information that you've developed in the pitching canvas, and that you can actually put it onto a professional looking presentation deck of 10 or 11 slides. And this is just the first slide from that pitching deck. When you download it, you'll be able to see how Trident Fish Farm actually presented the answers to the statements that we've just been talking about on the pitching canvas. It's a useful tool, and it will be something that may inspire you in terms of how your own pitching deck ultimately looks. So we hope that you find this useful. The last thing today about the art of the pitch in terms of the module requirements is what the activity is. And today it's not rocket science. You've probably already guessed that the activity that you've got to undertake for completion of this module, the art of pitching, is to complete that pitching canvas template that we were just talking about a couple of slides back. If you can think through that tool, if you can download it and add the answers to it, drawing the answers from the work that you've previously done, and you'll come up with what I'm sure is going to be a great pitching canvas, and coming up with the stories that you need to share with the audiences that you talk to. If you have any questions about this module, please do use the Q&A function tool in this webinar. And I have Catherine here who's busy typing away and talking to people as I speak. And Catherine, I'm really sorry I didn't introduce you at the beginning of the session.
No problem. Hi to everyone.
So please do ask any questions and we'll try to answer those. And if you would like to send an email to me, please do so at stephen@theagripreneur.org. Action 1. Complete the pitching canvas, the presentation tool, okay? And that will support your completion of the requirements that you need to do to be able to submit your business plan to the AMI platform so that you can gain that all-important certificate of completion. Action 2 is once you have completed this course online, you can use the PowerPoint template provided to you, and we'll talk about that more next week, but I'll give you a snippet later on during this webinar, that we will be expecting you to complete a full PowerPoint deck of 10 or 11 slides, which you can present to us as part of your business review, business plan for review, and then you can receive critical feedback. And we're going to be looking for presentation of those before the 30th of September. But as I said before, don't worry, we will be sharing more information about that in good time. I've been talking far too much and far too quickly. And I'm really, really grateful that we have got somebody absolutely awesome who knows far more about pitching than I would ever do to contribute to our conversation today. So I would like to welcome our very good friend Ludivine Berouard from Marula Consultancy in Kampala to today's webinar on the art of the pitch. Ludivine is somebody who has got huge amounts of skills, is somebody who reached the final part of the Hult Prize last year. And so I would really like to give a warm welcome to Ludivine, to say thank you very much for joining us today. And I'm really interested to learn from you what you think are some of the key important features of being able to make a good pitch, but also to learn more about your experience of being involved in a global competition for agripreneurs, such as the Hult Prize. So Ludivine, you're very, very welcome today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Stephen. I hope
Hi.
you can see.
I just apologize. I see that you've come through on my email address, so I'm really sorry.
No problem. You can even scroll for me, actually. That would be ideal. Yeah, perfect. Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Stephen. So like he said, my name is Ludovine. I'm currently based in Uganda. I've met a few of you from the Go Getters workshop before. So last year I participated in the Holt Prize, which is a global competition with over 100,000 entrepreneurs from around the globe that are trying to solve a big challenge, which last year was youth employment. And the Holt Prize is completely framed around the art of pitching, because every single stage, it's basically pitches with at least 40 people in a room and only one team makes it through. And that's kind of all year round how we make it through and how they eliminate to finally get 40 teams to take part in an accelerator in London. So it was a wonderful experience, quite stressful as you can imagine, having to pitch every single week. But then, these 40 teams, we pitched every single week and we got a lot of feedback from experts from around the world. So that was a lovely learning experience. And then finally, 7 of us made it to pitch at the UN, which, was of course a dream. And from that, I believe that I've learned a lot about pitching and how to communicate our business effectively. To give everyone a very short introduction, our business basically transforms organic waste into animal feed, which we sell to farmers. So we're tackling several problems, waste, youth employment, problems in the animal feed sector. And so one feedback that I wanted to share with everyone today, which is really key if you want to have a successful pitch, is being able to frame your problem. Many people, when they try to pitch, try to explain how many wonderful things their business can do and how many things you're able to tackle. But at the end of the day, if a judge doesn't truly understand how big your problem is and how important it is for the market, they're not going to be sold on your solution. And so there's a few ways of doing this, but one that worked really well for us is, using a personal or relatable story, something that everybody can understand. And everyone loves a story to be able to relate to that problem and to understand how your solution can actually change that person's life. But then if you start with a personal story, you have to be able to show how it's not just one individual who's facing this problem in the market. So you have to have the statistics or the global facts behind to show that, your market is big enough, your solution is going to have enough clients. So other tool that we use was using, local statistics, global. You want to choose 2 or 3 that really show how big your market is. And if you're able to frame your problem correctly and a judge is able to sit there thinking, wow, this is such a big problem, if only someone had a solution for this, they're going to be much more likely to believe in your pitch and to believe in innovation, no matter actually how small or big. And that's why some teams who might have maybe a smaller innovation are able to succeed better, because they've shown that their problem is so important and it's really going to change the lives of so many people. So that's one tip we got over and over again, and which I think is important as you're thinking about your pitch, is really understanding your problem and your client, as you're presenting it to the judges. Okay. Then I put together a few just general pitch tips. Stephen, if you can scroll to the next slide for me. Yeah. So one is most pitch competitions that you're gonna, participate in even after this experience. And what's great is once you put a pitch deck, even if you're not successful in this experience, you can apply to other pitch competitions, and you can use that, to keep applying and to keep sending your pitch deck to other people. So one thing is, respect the time of your judges. At the end of the day, if you're given 8 minutes, you have to make sure your pitch is in 8 minutes. Even if you have the best pitch in the world, if you don't respect your judges' time, they're going to pick another team who is able to, respect their time, because that shows that the team is serious, that the team is able to practice, and that the team has really, put together the time to have a perfect pitch, which just looks more professional, even if your idea is better. So that's, one really key tip for any type of pitch that you're doing. And then one way to really make sure that you're on time is to actually time yourself and make sure you leave a 30-second margin, because often if you're pitching in front of people, you might get nervous, or something might happen, someone might drop their glass of water and something might distract you. So it's really important that as you're timing yourself, make sure you have that margin for anything that could happen, so you're not stressed on the day that you're showing up to pitch. And then one thing we suggest, it's better to omit some content in the middle of your pitch than at the end, because you just want to make sure that you get to that thank you slide, so that even if you've actually skipped some slide because you realize you're going over time, it looks like to the judges that you've showed up on time and that you've managed to fit in that thank you slide right as the buzzer goes off. Another tip that I love is practicing with literally everyone and anyone. And by that, I mean, I used to practice, with some people who have a lot of experience in the industry, because I knew that if they're able to understand how my solution can, really solve something, and they're asking the right questions, that means that, okay, my pitch is professional. But at the same time, you want to pitch with someone who has zero experience in your industry and maybe knows nothing even about agriculture. So an example I use is my mom, for example. If I can pitch to my mom, who's, in France and knows nothing about agriculture, and she can understand what I'm pitching, then I'm sure that any judge will be able to understand what I'm saying. And that's really a way to check that my communication is clear, that my slides are simple enough, and that people are understanding what my solution is. So you really want to have a variety of people that you're practicing with, so that you make sure that you're equally professional as, easy for anyone to understand. And then another one is I filmed myself 100 times pitching, which is just a way for, to ask for additional, basically to see yourself and to be able to see what you look like and to work on your hand gestures, for example. And I know that now with COVID, it might be really hard for people to ask for feedback. You might not be able to actually go to someone and go to someone's house and practice. So if you can't do that, and if you're in a lockdown situation, you can film yourself pitching, and then you can send it via WhatsApp to all your contacts, and get that feedback through WhatsApp. So that's still, a great tool to get feedback from people. Yeah, I think we can go on to the next one. Okay, so this next one is, at this point, if you're in a competition and you've made it thus far, and you've been selected, then it's time for you to be confident in yourself and the business. At this point, you've gone through some type of training, you've gone through some type of feedback, and if you're this far in the competition, it means people have believed in you. And so you really have to stand up there and believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, the judges never will. So at this point of the competition, it's, and we're all shy. And I remember the first time that I started pitching, I thought, oh, what are they going to think? Who am I to pitch? But, at this point, enough people have believed in you that you've made it this far. And so it's time to be confident in yourself. And it takes practice, but the more and more you pitch, the more you become confident, and the more that stress sort of, goes away. Then another one is, if English is your second language, and like I mentioned, this was a global competition, so we had judges from everywhere as well. So it's not even necessarily your English, it could also be the English of the judges or the global experts that are coming in. You want to slow down. You want to, and I'm talking fast now because I'm also watching the time, but in a pitch, you want to make sure that you're actually taking the time to enunciate and make sure you're pronouncing your words correctly, because the worst thing that can happen is that you've done your full pitch, and then the judge is saying, I'm sorry, I didn't really understand. What's your solution? Not because you didn't have a good pitch, but because you either talked so fast or they just weren't able to understand your accent. So you just want to be mindful that the more you're submitting to international competitions, the more you want to make sure that actually you're taking the time to speak, and you're, ensuring that people can understand you. And then another one is, I've always asked people who I've practiced with to explain my solution and explain my business model. So this is just a really great way to practice for Q&A, which is an essential part of any sort of pitch competition, because you can actually practice answering back. But it's also a way for you to check if they've understood your solution properly. Then another one is, even with timing, but even if you don't have a time, I suggest memorizing your pitch. I know this is a tricky thing for a lot of people, and it definitely gets easier with time, but the wonderful thing once you've been able to memorize your pitch is that you can actually start focusing on different things. So you can start focusing on eye contact, you can start focusing on smiling, you can start focusing on emphasizing key points that you want the judges to remember. So it can be a few key sentences, it can be key facts, it can be your market size, whatever you think is gonna, make your pitch different compared to others. You want to emphasize those, but it's hard to remember to emphasize if you're still thinking about, oh wait, what am I supposed to say next? Or what was I supposed to say during this slide? So if you can, and if you have enough time to prepare for a pitch, try to memorize it so that you're able to, stand there and be very professional. And of course, things will go wrong on the day, but the more you've memorized, the more you're going to feel confident as well when you go up on stage. Okay. And then lastly, you've put all this effort to make a perfect pitch just to impress. At the end of the day, you want people to think you're professional, and you don't want to show up in your pajamas, even if it's on a Zoom pitch. So, just to impress. And I think this is also many people who pitched, globally. We had a few Mexicans, and a lot of Africans who came, and even some, other South Americans who came with their traditional uniforms, which was, the judges love it. So also I think, if you come from a place, dress to impress can mean something very different to everyone. It doesn't have to mean like European business code, but it's, something that's going to make you feel good when you're standing. You have to make sure you're, feeling comfortable and you're able to express yourself, and you know that you look good and you look professional. And then lastly, smile and use supportive body language. This was my biggest feedback when I pitch. I never smile. So this is something that I had to work on a lot. But, the more you're able to connect with the judges as you're standing there, the more they're going to want to understand you as a person, and the more they're going to want to get to know you, which means that even if you potentially, for example, we didn't win the final, but I know that our team looked great, and all of us had a lot of, high energy, and we got a lot of feedback, and we actually got investment after the pitch from a few investors that came up to us after, because they were so impressed, even though we didn't win. And I know that a lot of that comes because, we had a good team presence, all of us were smiling, we had really good body language, and we just looked like a professional team. So this is just something, very important. And then lastly, I know you're working on your decks currently, and putting together everything that you've worked on during the course. So one tip is, keep it simple. A lot of people at first want to put all the text that they have and all the facts and all the research that they've done. And I've seen this a lot here actually in some of the workshops that I've given, where people will write out, a lot of bullet points about their solution. The thing is, you don't want to distract the judge from listening to you. So you actually want to have a supportive pitch deck rather than make the deck, over, I'm not sure what that word is in English, but you don't want the deck to basically overpower you speaking and pitching. So keep it simple. It can be pictures, 1 or 2 highlighted key facts, maybe a graph, especially if you're showing your revenue, things that rather assist you rather than distract the judge. Then another one is, some of you, I'm sure, have an actual product you're selling. This is a bit harder for us because we're more of a process. We were more of a supply chain, but we still use pictures and graphics to really help the judge understand the context. So if you're selling a final product, it can be maize flour, for example, and you already have packaging, you already have a product, show the judge that, you've already gone through that stage. You're actually selling a real product. If they can see a picture of it, they're much more likely to believe it. So we had pictures of our factory, we had pictures of us collecting waste, anything that can show the judge that, you're actually doing this. This is not some made up business that you've just thought about. There's actually something real on the ground. So pictures are a great way, storytelling in general are a great way to be able to connect with the judge. And then lastly, one great tip, because I know a lot of people get stressed about Q&A. They've put so much effort putting the pitch together, and then they're thinking, oh, what are the judges going to ask me? One great way to do this is if you are giving a judging criteria, and most competitions have this. Download the judging criteria and go through the different steps and try to frame questions around those different areas. So if, one section is innovation, why is your product innovative, for example? That's an easy question that someone might ask you, since they're supposed to score you on innovation. Or they might have to score you based on market. So make sure you've prepared a lot of questions based on what's your market size, who's your first clients. You can actually use the judging criteria to basically come up with a lot of practice Q&A and have team members or family members practice that Q&A with you. And then lastly, this one I just added, since I know that a lot of these pitches might be virtual and not in real life. Make sure when you speak, you're not looking at yourself, and make sure you're still trying to get that eye contact, because at the end of the day, it's really hard to come across the same way virtually as you would in person. Everyone knows that. But one thing you can do is, really look at the camera, connect, and try not to be, I'm also reading the deck now, but if you've memorized the pitch, you can just be looking at the camera, and you should have confidence that you know what's on the deck, so that you're not always, looking back or looking at, being distracted. Make sure there's not people walking behind you, and that you've really secured a room that's, going to be quiet while you're pitching, so that you're fully focused and prepared. Yeah, I think that would be it from me, Stephen. Those are all my pitch tips, and I hope it was really helpful.
That's a huge amount of information, Ludovine. Thank you so much. The experience that you have is just amazing. I'm hoping that you can stay with us for the next 10-15 minutes, because I'm sure that our audience is going to have a few questions. But
yeah,
could I possibly ask you one question?
Absolutely.
Obviously, you framed a lot of what you've been talking about in terms of pitch competitions, and that's really, really important. And it's actually what I asked you to do as well. But how do you think the things that you have been talking about actually relate to entrepreneurial situations that aren't in relation to competitions, but when an entrepreneur is actually talking to an investor or somebody within a potential customer or supply chain? How do you think these skills that you talk about translate to those different environments?
Yeah. So one exercise that we used to do a lot in this training is called the 1 minute pitch or the elevator pitch. And I think that's someone that, you know, especially now, once you've, let's say, put together a deck with your 10 slide and you've done your, let's say, 5 minute, 8 minute, 3 minute pitch, whatever it is, make an effort as a team to sit together and prepare a 1 minute pitch. And we use 1 minute because investors are busy. If you run into a businessman maybe who can secure that one partnership you're looking for. And the idea of an elevator pitch is basically enough time that you could walk into an elevator and meet that exact person that you need to make your business a success. And by the time you get to the top and walk out, they need to be sold. They need to be sold enough to give you their business card. So that's where the phrase elevator pitch actually comes from. And so that's a great exercise. I think you can think about all these things that I've said to also have in your mind basically a memorized elevator pitch. And if you were to ask me, and I haven't pitched now for a while, but at the time I would have an elevator pitch completely ready, memorized, that I can basically, you know, just blurt out without even thinking at any point if I meet someone who's like, what do you do? And by having an elevator pitch, you want to keep the same principles that I mentioned, which is start with the problem. You know, where are you based? What's the context? What have you seen? What made you so emotional that you wanted to start this business? You know, was it a personal story? Get that person hooked, and then sell your idea, sell your innovation. That's the other 30 seconds. This is what we do. This is where we are, and we're currently looking for investment. We're currently looking for a partner to grow our supply chain. That's what you want to end with. You want to be very direct. If you're meeting people in real life, it's not that they're going to be able to help you, but they might also know someone who's, you know, who they might be able to connect you with. So I think you can use everything I've said and just get in the practice of speaking to people. I think that was also what I was trying to say, is speak to everyone and anyone about your business, because the more you speak to people about it, the more they're going to know people who they can connect you with, the more they're going to give you feedback. Like, you know, the first time you talked to me about it, you said this. The second time, I got it better when you talked about it to me like this. You get that feedback from people, and I think that's the best way for anyone to grow and just get experience.
Yeah, definitely. And the idea of the elevator pitch, I think it's a fantastic skill to have. And even if you're not pitching a business, an elevator pitch can be really good for you as an individual as well.
Absolutely.
I can introduce myself in 30 seconds, and you're going to know my story, and you're going to be sold on me. And then potentially you're being sold into the business idea as well. So, yeah. So, Ludwig, we'll move on. I think
I'll stay on the problem. I've seen a few questions popping up, so maybe we can get back to them after.
Indeed, indeed. And I'm aware that time is ticking, and we do like to try and finish on time as well. I am going to do this. We have got a friend, Eunice Amenya, in Uganda, who has run a small farm. I've got a very, very short video here today, but I just think it's useful to find out about somebody who also is involved in entrepreneurship and in the agri-food sector. And something that I think is really, really key about Eunice's story is that from a very small business, she's actually found a way of exporting product into Europe. And I think for a young woman from Uganda, that's a really, really important skill. So I'm just going to play this. It's only 2 minutes, and then we're going to go into the questions and answers.
So this is our coffee plantation. It's about 5 years. We planted them in June 2015. So far, this is going to be our second harvest. We had the first harvest in 2019 when it was about 4 years, and we had some little harvest when it was also about 3 years. But our good harvest started last year when it was about 4 years. Like I said, the coffee has taken about 5 years now. This is Arabica Catmore. That's the species of the coffee that we have in the farm. These are the cherries. They are still green because they are maturing for harvest. Once these cherries turn red, we pick them. We pick them like this one. But once they're green, we can't pick them, because if we pick the green cherries and dry them, they affect the quality of the coffee that we sell to the market, and the coffee can have very high acidity level. But when we pick the red cherries, the quality of the coffee that goes out is really good for people's consumption. That is why we have to wait until the coffee turns red before we can harvest them.
So I hope that that was useful. As I say, it's Eunice's story, Unique Farm, is a really interesting business model. And the fact that from, as I say, quite a low point in terms of development, Eunice has been able to find a way to market her products into Europe, which is a really strong skill to have. And a large part of that has been based on the idea that she can pitch, that she has got a great vision of what her business is about, and about the impact that it has, not just upon herself, but also upon the wider community of which she is part. I'm going to invite Ludovine and Catherine to come back online. It's 10 to 10. We normally stop at 10 o'clock, but I'm going to break all the rules, and we're going to finish at 5 minutes past 10 today. And we're going to try and answer as many questions as we possibly can in that time. So Catherine, you've been watching, and I'm looking at Catherine here now. Catherine, you've been following the Q&A questions that have been coming through. What sort of things have we been getting?
So there are some questions that we have answered already, but there is one question from Moses, who is asking, in a short pitch, let's say 3 minute speech, what content should be prioritized?
That's a really good answer, and I could question, and I could come up with some answers. But Ludovine, what do you think, if you're there? What do you think is the priority to share within a 3 minute pitch?
Yeah, so I think very clearly start with your problem, then your market size, and it doesn't have to be in this order. But the 4 things you definitely want to include in any pitch is basically your problem statement, then how big that market is, which means how many people are facing the same problem that you've just explained, your solution and why it's innovative, how it's going to fix that problem, how is it going to impact people's lives, what are the benefits, why should someone believe in your product or your solution. And then you want to go for the finances, which is, and this of course depends who you're pitching to in 3 minutes, but if you're pitching to an investor or partner, you want to show how, okay, this is not just some nice idea, this is actually going to make money, and this is actually going to solve a big problem and bring me revenue. So you want to show someone basically how your business is going to make money. And then one slide that most people forget, but that's actually very important, and so if you can fit it in, is your team slide. a lot of people skip over this, but actually showing that you have expertise within your team shows the judge that even if he sees that, okay, maybe something is not perfect, as a team, if you were to give you feedback, you could actually work on it, you could grow, and you have the right expertise, or maybe the mentors that already believe in you. Maybe you already have, you know, someone in your board who's actually an expert in that industry. Those are the kind of things that are really nice to highlight in the 3-minute pitch to show, yeah, how much experience you have.
That's really important. And for me, one of the key issues is, and I think this kind of answers another question that's coming in from Elizabeth as well, about what do you put onto a one-slide presentation, is you've got to know who your audience is. So you're never really going to have a single presentation deck or a single slide that will perfectly answer everything that you want to share with every audience in the world. And so for me, it's important to be able to have the ability to look at your audience and really focus on, I know what my business is, using the things that Ludovine has been talking about, but how do I shape this for my audience? Because talking to an investor is going to be different to talking to somebody who is going to be in your distribution chain, for example, who is going to be selling your product rather than coming in. So it's, be aware that you need to change your message slightly for different audiences. We've got one here from Isaac. In storytelling, can you show or play a video of the problem looking at the time assigned to you? So Ludovine, in your experience of pitching competitions, did anybody ever use videos within their presentations?
Yeah, so we had a few. One general tip is, and this also depends on where you are, but the problem with using video is that often things go wrong. Imagine the speaker turns off right before you start your pitch, or, you know, there's something wrong with the Wi-Fi. And so many teams actually lost out when they tried to use video. And if it had worked out, I'm sure it would have been, you know, really impactful. But the problem is that, you know, things do go wrong. So if you're relying on technology or video to, in a timed pitch or a timed presentation or just any kind of business meeting, and it goes wrong, it looks, you know, a lot less professional than if you didn't have a video to start with. So that's just one thing to be mindful. If you are going to use video, make sure it's saved on your computer. You're not relying on Wi-Fi. Make sure you've tested it 100 times. Make sure that the sound is loud enough from your own computer in case the speaker. So you just want to make sure that basically you've thought of every kind of problem that could go wrong, and you're not just counting on, you know, Wi-Fi to stream your video as your pitch is going. So that's the first thing I would say. And the second thing is, one tool that we used is actually making a JPEG, which is basically a moving image. So if you have a, you know, short video, and for us, what we used to do is we had a JPEG of our farm manager, Martin, moving the waste into the factory, putting it into one of the crates and going through that crate and showing the maggots, which is like kind of the most complicated part of our process at the beginning. And we saved it as a JPEG, which is something that you can do online. You just, you know, if you Google how to make a JPEG, you'll find out, and you basically put that video and it saves as a moving image, which is then just literally an image. So it's a lot faster to load. It's a lot easier to basically have. And we used to put that on our thank you deck, so it wouldn't take any time. And as someone is sort of, you know, clapping, they're actually looking at the video. So it's a really great way to save time and to have something kind of moving as you're in Q&A, where they're really connecting to you and your story. So that's also a tool you could look into. That's
a really interesting idea, and it's actually not one I'd heard of, so I'm going to use that as well. Another question, it's something, Ludovine, that you talked a little about during your presentation, and this comes from Amanda. When it comes to speaking, how do you balance slowing down versus keeping time? And I suppose this is something about the amount of content that you put into your presentation as well.
Yeah, so Amanda, this was, I think, our biggest challenge throughout every single pitch competition, because at the Hold Prize, they're extremely strict with timing. So if they give you 5 minutes, the buzzer goes on and they just cut you off. You don't even have time to finish thank you if you have started saying thank. So, you know, timing is such an important thing. And I think I'd go back to my earlier points, which is A, go for less than more. you're always going to actually spend more time speaking, especially if you're nervous, especially if there's a big crowd. So if you're given 6 minutes, plan for 5. If you're given 4, plan for 3, and so on. And then, you know, take the time to actually slow down, because you've prepared for 4, but you have 5, which means you can speak a bit slower, you can take time, you can point at things, you can have stage presence. So my general advice, especially for the very first, you know, few times that you're pitching where you may be more nervous, because now let's say, you know, I've pitched more than, I think, 60 times. So now when I'm going up to pitch, I know that if I've prepared for 3 minutes and 30, I know how to do it by now. But the very first few times that you're pitching, save a lot of time for any kind of, you'll be thankful if something goes wrong and you're on stage. You'll know in your head that actually your pitch is only going to take 3 minutes, not 4, so you're okay. You have a minute for any other things that can happen. And then use the tool of timing yourself. I mean, that's just so important. Every time you practice, time yourself. Every time you go over, remove words. We used to script everything we were going to say for each deck. We would write down our sentences. This is exactly what I'm going to say for this deck. So if I'm taking too much time, I remove a few words, I change what I'm going to say, and I practice again until I'm exactly at the time that I want to be, and then I memorize. That was sort of our process. So first you write your script, you time, then once you're there, you know that you have the perfect script, you start memorizing, and then, you know, if you've memorized, it's just going to go when the day of the pitch. You just speak like you've always done.
Yeah, it's very, very important, as you say. It's about preparation, it's about practice, and it's about the performance. And getting those together is really important. And the presentation that you make, you know, that you're standing on stage, if you haven't done the practice, if you've not done the preparation, you're not going to shine as much as you could have done.
Exactly.
We've got another question here, and this, Ludovine, this is directly to you. It's from Mamadou. It said, basic reads, "Hi Ludovine, you said that you had to do several pitches during the Holtz competition. My question is, were you doing a new pitch each competition day, or had you only one pitch that you had to recite day after day?"
Okay. So what would usually happen is every week we would pitch on Fridays, and then we would get feedback from the judges and they would rank us. So every room had the top 3 pitches and top 3 bottom pitches. And that was a way to basically see where you were and compare yourself to other teams. And then we would get feedback, and during the week we would work on it, and the Friday after we would get to pitch again. So essentially we're using the same pitch, we're just editing it each time based on feedback. But you know, the problem with such pitch competitions is one day you're going to have a judge who's going to tell you, start with a story, I want to connect. And, you know, the next week you're going to have a judge who's like, start with the numbers. You know, he's maybe like a serious investor and he just wants to know from the get-go if this is going to be interesting. Otherwise, he's not even going to listen. And so what's going to happen is you're going to get a lot of different feedback. So I think at some point as an individual, you know, we have to choose, even as a team, what's the way where we're getting the most positive feedback, where 80% of people appreciate and understand our pitch, because you're never going to be able to please everyone. And so I think what I've tried to do today is give you the formula that we found worked most of the time. If you start with the problem, most of the time, and the story, most of the time people are going to connect, they're going to be interested, they're going to look forward to your solution. Some people want to hear the solution first, but what I found is you don't have that same wow factor if you're starting with, you know, this is my business and these are the numbers. The very heavy number people and maybe the very serious sort of investors might connect with that, but most people won't. They won't understand why your solution is so cool. So what I've tried to give you today is the sort of, you know, pitch tips that worked for, let's say, 80% of the crowd. And yeah, I think if you have something that works, you've gotten a lot of positive feedback. Once you have a sort of market size, maybe slide that's working really well, don't change it. Focus on the other ones, the ones where maybe you're getting more negative feedback, and you know, slowly by slowly you start improving your pitch. Maybe the next time you start improving your font size, pictures, you know, every time you basically want to edit a little bit. But if you have something that works, don't change it. Like, focus on the other things.
Yeah, that's really good. There's one last question here, and I think I might try to answer this first. And Ludovine, if you think we need to add a little more, this is the last question we're taking today, I should say. And if you have any more questions, please post them now, and we'll try to answer them by email or posting answers onto the WhatsApp group. But the last question, who's from Anonymous, is how does the PowerPoint deck help us bring out the problem we are trying to solve? And so for me, the importance of a PowerPoint deck or the pitching canvas is it's a way of using the information that you've gathered to develop your business plan. So you've identified what the problem that you're trying to solve is, and it's a way of communicating that to an audience. So it's a way of choosing what language you want to use, what information you want to share, adding things like graphics or images that can be really useful to strengthen your arguments and make you persuasive with regards to the impacts that your business can have, both whether that's to an investor or to a customer or to other parts. So for me, the PowerPoint deck, the pitching tool, it's really important as a way of you to refine the messages that you share with your stakeholders. Ludovine, I don't know if you can add something to that.
Just one sentence, which I've said before, is just make sure your pitch deck is assisting you, you know, not overpowering you. At the end of the day, that's the key. If you're having too much text, it's going to become a distraction. People aren't listening to you, and they're going to miss out on the key, the very key statements that you're trying to make in your pitch. Yeah,
completely. Thank you, Ludovine. So I'm going to move on. It's 5 past. Let me just try and move my screens. So just to be clear to everybody online, we're expecting that people complete the online course before the 30th of September. So everybody's got 4 weeks to finish the course. So there's plenty of time to make sure that you bring everything together, okay? One key question that we've been asked by several people is, I haven't got a buddy yet. Please remember to find a buddy who is going to be the person who actually reviews for the platform your business plan before you can receive your online certificate. If you haven't found a buddy, ask somebody on the course, or more importantly, try to find somebody within your own network, your community, a colleague, or a member of your family who is interested in supporting you. And we ask you to register that person onto the platform as part of the first activity right at the beginning of the course several weeks ago. And what we ask you to do is under this section here that you can see on the screen, add a buddy, their name, their email number, email address, their relationship to you, family member, friend, so forth, and invite the buddy. And an email will go to that person, which they have to accept. And then once you actually submit your final work to the online platform, it will automatically be sent to your buddy. They will review it on your behalf. They will submit it back to the platform, send it back, and then you will receive an email with your certificate, and you'll also be able to download your certificate as well. Okay, so finding a buddy is really important, and registering them onto the platform is really important. They don't have to follow the course, but they do have to be registered as your buddy. The second thing that we're offering then, and all of this is going to be covered next week, is we're then asking you to present, if you wish, your business plan, your financial document, your pitching deck to the Agripreneurship Alliance so that we can actually review it on your behalf and provide you with some critical feedback about how those tools can actually be developed further. There's no such thing as a completed business plan. It's a living document, and we'd like you to help you make it the best that it can possibly be. And so what we're asking you is if you wish to have your business plan reviewed by us, that first of all, you complete the online course. That's really important. And then that you complete a request form and the documentation and send it to me, stephen@theagripreneur.org, before the 30th of September. And when you receive a copy of the deck that we're using today, you can see that we've included a link so that you can access the documentation for that critical review process. Remember, I'm still talking about the next step after you have completed the online course. And do not panic, as I said at the beginning. We are going to be covering more about this next week. All of next week's session is about how we wrap this course up to make sure that you get the best experience that you can, that you make sure that you can download the certificate of completion, and so that you can have the opportunity to submit your business plan for critical review by members of the Agripreneurship Alliance. If you have any questions, please reach out to me at stephen@theagripreneur.org, and I will come back to you as quickly as I possibly can. So to finish, my thank you slide. Thank you for your participation today. I'm sorry that we've gone over a little bit in time, but I hope that this has been useful. We'll be sharing the recording with you later today. That will be going out on the WhatsApp group and also Community Wall. Please, as a result of this module, work through your pitching canvas tool. Find those important messages that you want to share with your stakeholders. Keep engaging with us, keep asking us questions, reach out to me if you've got any questions, and we will see you same place, same time next week, where we'll be having the final webinar, which is going to be about bringing all of this together. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much to Ludovine and also to Dixon for sharing the wealth of your knowledge and experience. And also thank you very much to my colleague here, Catherine, for helping out following the chat and Q&As.
Thanks to you, Stephen. So
thank you to everybody, and I hope that you have a great week, and do reach out if you have any questions. Thanks again now, and bye-bye.
Bye.